Welcome back. I am back spontaneously because I wanted to give an update on the Bryan Kohberger case. I have been following it a little bit. It seemed to have been at like a standstill, and of course me finding out that there are trials that are behind the scenes that I would not really know about. I just kind of waited like everybody else to see what came about when it came to the Bryan Kohberger case. So I'm going to read this article, and please tell me what you think in the comments, and like, comment, and subscribe. It has been, I think, like over a year since I have posted on this channel, and so I am back, kinda, I think. But anyone listening to this, my subscribers, thank you so much for staying subscribed. My numbers went down a bit, but I didn't really feel anything about it because I know I wasn't posting. But for those that hung in there and stuck with me, I really, really appreciate you. And so please let me know what you think about the case. If you've been following it yourself and, there's certain things that stood out to you, just, comment below and maybe I can do another video. So I'm going to read this article. 1 second, let me pull it up. I'm excited to be back. I'm glad that I just had the courage, right? Endless courage to make this video. It's going to be an audio. Of course, I don't do any face videos right now. I don't. But I do want to get back to putting up court videos and maybe putting my face in the corner, because I am at a different place in my life and I feel more I have more courage. So all right, let's see, should be on another tab. Oh, here we are. Okay, so Bryan Kohberger pleads guilty to murder after admitting to brutal stabbing deaths of 4 Idaho students. So if you could check out my initial video, I think I made 2 videos on Bryan Kohberger. And so, okay, I'm going to get into the article. Bryan Kohberger pleaded guilty to murder Wednesday in the brutal stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students in 2022 that stunned and terrified the campus and set off a nationwide search, which ended weeks later when he was arrested in Pennsylvania. He was with his father. Kohberger, who was a criminal justice graduate student at nearby Washington State University, admitted to the slayings before entering a formal guilty plea and a deal with prosecutors that will allow him to avoid the death penalty. He had been set to go to trial in August. So I figure that he must have panicked that the death penalty was actually on the table, and so he did make a deal with prosecutors. And so to continue, the small farming community of Moscow in the northern Idaho panhandle had not had an homicide in about 5 years when Kaylee, Ethan, Xana, I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm not, I apologize, and Madison were found dead at a rental home near campus on November 13th, 2022. And condolences to the family. The reason why I did not continue with covering it, not only because of the gag order, but also I wasn't sure if I was speaking in a way that was compassionate enough towards the victims. The victims were young, and so I just wanted to be respectful, and so I left it alone. But now that this has came out, this just hit today, that's why I'm updating you all. Okay, so autopsies showed each of the 4 victims were stabbed multiple times and some had defensive wounds. Kohberger killed Mogen and Goncalves together and then ran into Carnoodle, who was still awake. Latah County Prosecuting Attorney Bill Thompson said at the hearing Wednesday. He then stabbed Kernodle and her boyfriend Chapin, who was still asleep, Thompson said. And if I know I'm messing up the last names, and I apologize. Family members became increasingly emotional as Idaho 4th Judicial District Judge Stephen Hxllo explained each charge to Kohberger, naming each victim individually. Some cried into tissues, while others wiped tears with their hands. Kohberger remained impassive as he confirmed to the judge that he stabbed the 4 victims. And this is I mean, I'm just so shocked because his lawyer kept making the same statement. It seemed like it was the same, like if it was changed a little bit, it was just the same, which is that Kohberger is not guilty. And for the death penalty to be the thing that may have motivated him to finally tell the truth, my heart goes out to the families and condolences to them. As he pleaded guilty, some in the family section looked down and others craned to see him. Kohberger told the judge he understood the terms of the plea deal, which stipulates he will serve 4 life sentences and won't be able to appeal. The judge set the official sentencing for July 23rd, and I can actually give an update too around that time. Hxllo said as the hearing began that he would not take into account public opinion when deciding whether to accept the agreement. Quote, "This court cannot require the prosecutor to seek the death penalty, nor would it be appropriate for this court to do that," he said. "This court cannot force the state to seek the death penalty." Quote, Idaho killings seized the nation's attention. The killings grabbed headlines around the world and set off a nationwide hunt, including an elaborate effort to track down a white sedan spotted on surveillance cameras repeatedly driving by the rental home. Police said they used genealogy to identify Kohberger as a possible suspect and access cell phone data to pinpoint his movements the night of the killings. And I actually went over that information. I had a picture of the actual dorm sort of house that they were staying in. And so if you want to check out that video, you can. At the time, Kohberger was a criminal justice graduate student at nearby Washington State University who had just completed his semester and was a teaching assistant in the criminology program. Kohberger was arrested in Pennsylvania, where his parents lived, weeks later. So I guess, you know what? He was arrested at the home. I apologize. It was when he was arrested, he was pulled over with either his dad was pulled over and he was in the car, but this was before he was actually arrested, I believe. Investigators said they matched his DNA to genetic material recovered from a knife sheath found at the crime scene. Online shopping records showed that Kohberger had purchased a military-style knife months earlier, as well as a sheath like the one found at the scene. No motive has emerged for the killings, nor is it clear why the attackers spared 2 roommates who were in the home. There also was no indication he had a relationship with any of the victims, who all were friends and members of the university's Greek system. Authorities have said cell phone data and surveillance video show that Kohberger visited the victim's neighborhood at least a dozen times before the killings, and that he traveled in the same area that night. Kohberger's lawyers said he was simply on a long drive by himself around the time the 4 were killed. The case was moved to Boise because of pretrial publicity in northern Idaho. Hxllo must approve the plea deal. If Kohberger pleads guilty as expected, he will likely be sentenced in July. Although the Goncalves family opposed the agreement and said they would seek to stop it, they also argued that any such deal should require Kohberger to make a full confession detail the facts of what happened, and provide the location of the murder weapon. We deserve to know when the beginning of the end was, they wrote in a Facebook post. The family of Chapin, one of the 3 triplets who attended the university together, supports the deal, their spokesperson, Christina Teves, said Tuesday. Attorney Linder James, who represents Mogen's family and stepfather, declined to give their views, but said he would deliver a statement on their behalf after Wednesday's hearing. Mogen's father, Ben Mogen, told CBS News he was relieved by the agreement. We can actually put this behind us and, quote, we can actually put this behind us and not have these future dates and future things that we don't want to have to be at, that we shouldn't have to be at, that have to do with this terrible person, he said. We get to just think about the rest of our lives and have to try and figure out how to do it without Maddie and the rest of the kids. Oh my God, it's so heartbreaking. And that's why it was hard to cover this case. So this is a article that I just read, pbs.org, by 2 people, Jesse B. and Jean Johnson. I don't know how to say the first person's last name. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Bryan Kohberger pleads guilty to murder after admitting to brutal stabbings of 4 Idaho students.